In this part 2, we will talk about writing the equation of lines, so linear equations in both point-slope form and slope-intercept form. Point-slope form looks like this: y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1, where m is your slope and x1, y1 is a coordinate point on the line. And then slope-intercept form is probably the one you're more familiar with, and that is y equals mx plus b. And that's where m is the slope, always, and b is the y-intercept. Both of these ways of writing lines are completely valid, and it kind of just depends on your personal preference for how you want to solve for what the linear equation is based on what you're given. And so for these next two examples, I will do both ways. I'll use both point-slope form and slope-intercept form in order to solve, and then we will leave the equation in either form. In this example, we want to write the equation of the line with the slope of -3/4 that passes through this coordinate point. Now, it doesn't say what way to write our final answer, but so I'm going to use both methods in order to write the equation of the line. They'll end up looking the same in the end, but I do want to just show both methods. So I'm going to call this method 1, method number 1, and that's where we'll start. So we'll use point-slope form. The information that we have is we have a slope and we have an x1, y1. So I'm going to write out what point-slope form looks like, and then we'll plug in. With point-slope form, you never plug into the regular x or y. You only plug in m, x1, and y1. So I'm going to do y minus our y value, which is -1. So instead of writing y minus -1, I'll just write y plus 1. And then we have our m, which is -3/4. And then our x minus that 12, our x coordinate. Great, this is technically in point-slope form now, but it's a little complex looking. We normally want to get y equals. So if you're asked to write your final answer in slope-intercept form, we want to solve for y. So we'll have y equals mx plus b. So what I'm going to do is do a little algebra here and distribute this -3/4 through. So we'll have y plus 1 equals -3/4 x, and then we'll have plus, since it's -3/4 times a minus 12, we're going to do 3/4 times 12. So I'm writing it all out. Again, I put a plus there because it's minus times a negative. All right, so we're doing 3/4 times 12. What we can do is do some canceling. 12 and 4 become a 3 and a 1, since 4 goes into both of those. And then it's a pretty easy multiplication problem. So we'll just have 3 times 3, which is 9, over 1. So it's plus 9. And if you think about it, you're taking 3/4 of 12, and 3/4 of 12 is 9. All right, we're almost there. If we want to get y equals, we'll subtract 1 from both sides here. And so we'll have y equals -3/4 x plus 8. And that is our equation of our line in slope-intercept form. But I used point-slope first to plug in and then solved for y. Let's use slope-intercept form first. Let's do a different method. So this is going to be method number 2, using slope-intercept from the get. Slope-intercept form, remember, looks like this. And in this case, we want to figure out what b is, the y-intercept. We're going to plug in 12 for x, -1 for y, and for m, still -3/4. So we're going to use the same information as before, but this time solve for b. So I'm going to plug in -1 for y, -3/4 for m, and for x I'm going to plug in 12 plus b. Got to solve for b. So we need to do the -3/4 times 12, which we just did, but this case it's going to be negative times a positive, so it's -9 plus b. And to solve for b, we'll add 9 to both sides. So we get that b is 8, which we already knew it was from over here. So since b is 8, we know that we can rewrite this, y equals mx plus b, plugging in negative 3/4 for m and 8 for b. So we will have y equals negative 3/4 x plus 8. And that is the equation of our line. We just got it in two different ways. In your final answers, you never plug in for the regular y or the regular x, but we do plug in slope-intercept form for the regular y and x when solving in order to find b. All right, our second and last example, we want to write the equation of the line that passed through these 2 points. We don't have a slope here like in the other example, but we can easily find the slope. So our first step is find the slope. You need a point and a slope for all of this stuff. So let's find the slope. Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 gives us negative 6 divided by negative 2, which gives us a positive 3. Please simplify your slopes. Do not put negative 6 over negative 2 into any equation. Don't even put 3 over 1. This is just the number 3. So we have our slope now. It is 3. So off to the side, I'm going to write that m equals 3. Okay, the first method we can use is the point-slope method. And the point-slope method requires obviously a point and a slope, but in this case we have 2 points that we can choose from, so you just pick whichever point you want. I'm going to go with this point, 1, 8. So I'm going to use this point and this slope to plug in. So I'm going to have y minus 8 equals our slope 3 times the quantity x minus 1. And then a lot of times we want to write, and if you're asked to write in point-slope form in the end, that's in point-slope form, great. If you're asked to write in slope-intercept form, though, you do need to solve for y. So solving for y means distributing the 3 and then adding the 8. So we will get y equals 3x plus 5. The next method we can use is the slope-intercept form method. Again, I'm doing 2 different ways of solving this. If you just pick the method you prefer. Slope-intercept form method is using the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. We already know the answer that we should get is y equals 3x plus 5. So we're going to plug in a point for x and y and 3 for m and solve for b. The b value that we should get is 5. So again, you can pick either coordinate point. I'm going to use the same coordinate point. So this and that for m. So I'm going to plug in 8 for y. Our m is 3, our x is 1, and we'll solve for b. 8 equals 3 plus b. Subtracting 3 gives us that b is 5. And writing our final equation, y equals mx plus b. So you pick the method that you prefer, whether you like to plug into point slope and then solve for y, or plug into slope-intercept form, solve for b, and then write it as a final linear equation.